I am Jennifer. I am a scientist from Science from Scientists in Massachusetts, and I am here with
Juliette. I'm in 7th grade and I'm in Milton, Massachusetts.
and we are here to talk about the brain, right? And I am curious. I love the brain. I've studied it for many, many years, and I'm curious why you are interested in the brain.
I want to be a pediatrician when I grow up, so I just want to know about it.
Wow, fantastic. Okay, so we've got a very practical purpose here. That's great. All right, and so you've got some questions lined up for me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so fire away.
What cells are brains made of?
So brains actually have two types of cells in them. One is called glial cells, and the other is called neurons. Neurons have been studied the most because they're the cells that determine what we think and how we perceive the world around us. And I actually have a picture of a neuron that I brought along here. This is just a diagram showing the main parts of a neuron. It has three main parts, and one is the cell body. And the cell body is just like a lot of other cells that you may be familiar with. It has a nucleus and other organelles inside it. But neurons have some special things too. And these long fingers here are called dendrites. And that's one special thing about neurons. And another is this long tube-like structure, and that's called the axon. And axons can actually be super, super long, many centimeters actually. And the axon ends then in an ending onto other kinds of neurons. So
Yeah.
did you know that actually neurons have electricity inside them?
I think our health teacher might have told us that once.
Yeah, so neurons have electricity in them, and actually that's how information is transmitted from one place to another by a neuron. Electricity, just like the electricity that comes out of the outlet in our house and lights up our lights, it actually travels. It travels down the axon from the cell body to the ending. And then the electricity, it actually gets changed into a chemical that gets sent on to the next neuron. But basically, information gets transmitted from one neuron to the next with this electrical activity.
Oh, that's cool.
So your brain has like millions and millions of these neurons, and they're transmitting electrical signals all over the place to each other. And we call that a network, a big electrical neural network. And that's what your brain is.
What colors are brains inside?
Yeah. Oh man, that is such a good question. It really is, because everything you see, right, are pictures that have funny colors that aren't the real color. Everything you see in school and in the newspaper and all that. And actually, so different parts of the brain have different colors, okay? Some parts of the brain look white, and those parts have many, many axons in them. And actually, so axons usually or often run in bundles, and I actually brought along a set of pencils. They're supposed to be like one of these bundles, and so one pencil is actually an axon. And you've got these big bundles of axons running all through your brain. Sometimes, though, they have tens of thousands of axons in them, the bundles. You have a big bundle that runs from one side of your brain to the other, and it has hundreds of millions of axons in it. So these bundles are huge, okay? And they're white. And they're called the white matter because they're white. The other color is sort of a grayish pink, and that is actually called the gray matter. And instead of being made up of tons of axons, it's actually made up of cell bodies and dendrites. And there's actually a part of the gray matter that you're probably pretty familiar with. How there's that folded part that covers the whole brain, all the corticals and stuff. Yeah. So that's called our cerebral cortex. And it's made mainly from cell bodies and dendrites, and that's why it's gray. All right, what's your next question?
Where and what happens in the hippocampus?
The hippocampus. All right, so first, where is it? It is basically in the center of your head. You actually have two. Most structures in the brain, there's two of them, one on each side. And so your hippocampus is the same, but both of them are pretty much, if you go in through your ears here, and you would be hitting the hippocampus. But to show you a little bit better, I brought along a picture. Here's a picture showing the inside of a head. All right, so here's this dude's nose, the top of his head. So this wrinkled part here is the cerebral cortex we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And this purple part, this is the hippocampus. And yeah, it's a really cool structure. Yeah. So that's the hippocampus. So that's where it is. Okay. But now you also wanted to know, what does it do? Okay. And the hippocampus is really important for both learning and for memory. All right. And there's one really cool thing that I love about the hippocampus. Okay. So this is actually fairly recent information that scientists figured out. But if you are doing a dance move, let's say for the first time, and you're learning it during the day, the neurons in your hippocampus will have a particular pattern of electrical activity. All right. So it's electrical activity that's specifically related to that dance move. But when you go to sleep that night, your hippocampus is going to redo that exact same electrical activity. It's replaying it. It's rehearsing the dance move, even though you are sleeping. And how cool is that, huh?
That's really
So it's really cool. And it's one way that memories, in this case, it's a memory of how to do a dance move, how memories can get actually embedded into, or things you learn can get embedded into your memory. So what's the next question you have for me?
How are feelings produced and stored in the brain?
That's not something people fully understand. Okay, that is like what we call a big question in neuroscience. But there's definitely some things we know. All right, we know that certain parts of the brain are really important for feelings and forming feelings. And one of the structures, one of the parts of the brain that's important is the hippocampus. But another part that's important is actually in the picture I just showed you. And that part of the brain is called the amygdala. And it's this little red piece right here. Okay, so there's actually a bunch of structures all around in this area called limbic structures. And they are, we know, very important for your feelings and your emotions. There's actually a lot of information about the amygdala and what it does during feelings and during emotions. All right, and there's a lot of data to show that the amygdala is involved in how we feel fear. But one particularly cool piece of information comes from a very special woman who actually just happened to not have an amygdala on either side. There were just holes there. Sometimes these interesting things happen. She's perfectly fine. She has a great life. She goes about her business every day. But the really interesting thing is that she doesn't experience fear like most people do. She's sort of fearless. And so that's one way, just because of this very special woman, of us seeing the connection between the amygdala and fear.
How come our brains are tricked by illusions so easily?
I have a figure for you. I have a picture. You ready? I'm going to share it, and you're going to tell me what you see, okay?
Looks like there's like bees covered in ink or something.
Bees covered in ink, and that's exactly what I see as well. So if I take away the ink, the black ink, what are we going to see? Are we going to see bees? Let's see what we see.
Probably not.
Not, because I'm telling you that, right? This is what's there. So if we go back and forth, here it is with the black stuff. All right, now I'm going to take the black away.
That just looks like nonsense to me.
I know, there's no bees. I have to work hard to find any bees in that. So that is your brain being tricked, right? When we saw the bees, our brains were being tricked. And actually, the fact is our brains are making up stuff all the time. Basically, we're going through our lives and we're hearing things and we're seeing things, and we never have all the information. You'll hear a little piece of what someone says, or you'll see a glimpse of something. And the way our brain handles that is it has to fill in the gaps. So it says, okay, I have seen this thing that looks like a bee 1,000,000 times before, and I am going to guess that these are bees behind the black ink. And it's really something that's important for our survival. If our brain didn't do that, we just wouldn't know what to do. We wouldn't be functional. So the fact that our brains are tricked, they're tricked very easily because it's so important for our survival. It's part of really how the brain works. All right, so I guess we're out of time, but this has been so much fun talking to you about the brain. And who knows, maybe we could record another conversation later on.